Well, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Steven here, Northwest Small Batch Brewing. Today's brew talk. So if you're new to the channel, what I normally do is I have a full brew day approximately once a month because I brew once a month. And then in between there, I just talk about whatever I feel like talking about, usually beer related. So today is one of those days, but I do have something interesting to start with. So I can't tell you what this beer is. It's a little bit of a secret. It will be on my channel, but just not yet. Anyway, this is from my tap. And I already know what it tastes like because I've been drinking it. Well, that feels a little flat. Interesting. It wasn't flat yesterday. I need to go check the CO2 and make sure it didn't have an issue. This one is what's the interesting one. Now, a while back, I did one where I did DME to carbonate, to bottle carbonate, and it worked. And it was better tasting, but the DME foamed up, and it was a big mess, and it wasn't worth the effort. This is something called a guile. Gosh, I hope this doesn't explode on me. Oh, I can definitely hear carbonation. So a guile means that you reserve a portion of your wort at the end of your boil and throw it in the freezer. And then when you're ready to bottle condition, you use a certain amount of that wort from the original boil in your bottle to carbonate the beer instead of using sugars and stuff. Now, I can't see how much sediment. There is some sediment on the bottom. I also not sure if this is going to be overcarbonated. It sure looks like it might be. There is a calculator. I don't know if there's other ones available. The one I used is on Brewer's Friend, that you can calculate how much of that original wort based on your gravity of your beer to put in bottles in order to carbonate. So I may have to come back to this in a second because as you can see, it's quite carbonated. And we'll see how that tastes. If it tastes different, if it made a huge difference. If it did, I may start doing that as my normal carbonation method. We'll see. Yeah. Anyway, let's get into the topic here as I'm losing time. So I wasn't planning on talking about this today, but it came up and it has come up and it's been on my mind in the past. I just never really think I did a real good video on it. And I don't have any notes. I'm just going on the cusp because I really did just think about it today and think, yeah, I should do a video about this. So, one, you can use the cheapest equipment to make really good beer. You can use buckets from Home Depot that you convert into fermenting buckets. And you can just use a pot on a, propane burner. You don't need super expensive, fancy equipment to make good beer. The one thing you do have to be able to do is maintain the temperature that it's fermenting at. If it's too hot, it's going to get a lot of off flavors. If it's too cold, it's just not going to ferment, or it's going to take a very long time to ferment. So you need to be able to control the temperature. And if you're not somewhere where you have just the perfect temperature in your home and stuff, and a basement that's cool that you can move it down to or adjust, then you need a way to do it. And I've said this on my channel before, a lot of times, and I stand by it. There's not a 1-to-1 ratio between what they do in the commercial brewery and what we do in home brewing. Some stuff can translate over, but a lot of times the stuff they do in the commercial brewing world is because of the sheer volume of beer and product that they're dealing with, right? They have jacketed systems. They have all, it's a whole different, like the whole thing about conical fermenters and the ones that are up on legs, right? We don't need that at the homebrewing level. You just don't need it. A lot of times people are buying things because they're like, oh, I see this is what they use at the commercial level and it's cool and I want to get one. That's fine as long as you understand that it's totally unnecessary, right? It's your money. Spend it how you want. I will say this. Be sort of a PSA, right? When you're watching homebrewing channels, be very wary when you see somebody suggesting a product. I really don't like it when someone has a product that's expensive and they're basically telling you that you should get it, but they're not admitting maybe until the end of the video that, oh yeah, Northern Brewers sent this to me to try. Oh, okay. So in other words, you wouldn't have bought this yourself with your own money if it hadn't just been given to you, yet you expect us to do that. I don't like that, which is why I have turned down every request I've gotten from my channel to try out a product or, to present something to my subscribers. I don't like it. I don't want that kind of channel. And I don't like watching other people's channels when they do that. if you are going to, right, have a video where you present something that was given to you, you need to state that right at the front of the video. Hey, I got this from, Brew Tools, and they gave it to me to try and show you on this channel. And this is what it cost. This is what it's used for. Here's what, and basically, I don't want to ever feel like I can't tell you exactly what I think about something because it was given to me or whatever to present. Anyway, be careful when you're watching homebrew channels because a lot of them are getting these offers and accepting them, and it's a little bit disingenuous in my opinion. So we're talking, I'm short on time now. We're talking about glycol chillers. Let me, wow, it's really, okay, I'll tell you more what I'm thinking, but it is definitely different than the just forced carbed. All right, real quick on glycol. Totally unnecessary. Here's the thing. Again, it's one of those things that commercial breweries use because they have such a large volume that they're dealing with. They need something like that to cool down their beer and to maintain the temperature. You don't need that at the homebrew level. Look, there are lots of little ways you can do temperature controlling that are not as expensive, but they're labor intensive and a pain to deal with. But my opinion is it comes down to glycol chiller or a fermentation chamber. For me, the best fermentation chamber I could think of is what I have, which is a 5 cubic foot freezer. They're pretty small. You can fit up to 2 corny kegs in them, and you just hook up a controller that maintains the temperature of that freezer. Boom, done, right? The argument I get from people who have glycol is that glycol they don't have room for a 5 cubic foot freezer. I call no way on that one, all right? Because I looked, the glycol chiller is not that small. And it's going to take up roughly about the same amount of space as a 5 cubic foot freezer. So that is an excuse that is ridiculous. If you have the space for glycol chiller, you have the space for a little freezer for fermentation. And also, you can't use the excuse that, well, I can chill up to 2 different beers with my glycol chiller. All right, I can do 2 corny kegs. I can do 2 beers in my freezer. That's not an argument either. And the main thing for me is that the expense of a glycol chiller is outrageous compared to just a small 5 cubic foot freezer, right? The difference in price is huge, and it just makes no sense to go glycol. On top of that, you have to have the right kind of fermenter because the glycol has the tubes that have to go to a it's kind of like the chilling devices or the it's these spiral usually things that go into your beer. So, I mean, you have to have extra equipment that has to be clean and sanitized. You have to hook up all the time. You've got tubes going all over the place. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. So if you want one because you just think it's cool and you have the money just to throw, go for it, right? But if you're watching a video and they're hawking one of these things telling you to get a glycol chiller, I'm telling you, 95% chance that some company gave them that chiller to try and show on their channel. They didn't actually pay for it. So I'm telling you, right up front, that's my opinion on glycol chillers. They work. It's not that that you can't use them. I just feel like they're way overkill and cost way too much, and it's just not a smart way to go. This beer, by the way, much more flavor, smoother, much more mouthfeel to it than the forced carb. This forced carb one has it's thinner, lighter. I get a little bit of acetaldehyde in this one, which is hidden more in this one because this has much more smoothness, and I love the carbonation is good. I'm just gonna do it. He's probably gonna get mad for me for saying it, but shout out to your Beer Koi Nation for suggesting that I try. Well, he doesn't, I don't think, do so much of the of what I'm doing here. There's another method where you actually scoop off the yeast. It's called croissantning. That's what he does. But this is sort of the easier version where you just save some of the wort and use the original wort to carbonate the beer. And it was easy to do, and just as easy as anything else. And it's good. So I recommend it. Cheers. I'll be back in another week for another video. And until then, keep on brewing.